Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. It is 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 10th of February, 2021. Happy Wednesday. I'm taking a quick look here at our equity markets and looking at the Dow. We had a pretty good spike up at 8:30 in the morning, so an hour before the New York Open, and then a pretty good drop, and we've been kind of retracing that move now, and it looks like we're just setting up for another possible push to the south here. We look at the futures contract. This is the MES. This is the micro E-mini S&P futures contract. This isn't the CFD. This is the actual futures contract. Same pattern. We see a dip from 39.28 all the way down to 38.78. So a pretty nice point drop. We haven't had a big move like that in a while. And then the NASDAQ as well, we see a pretty swift drop from this high. I'm looking at the 5-minute chart here at 13,753 all the way down to a low of 13,517. So pretty good drop there. Again, it's making some attempts to move higher, and I mean it is almost forming on some other time frames. It looks like we have like an ascending triangle, which is a bullish pattern. But otherwise, when you have a big drop like this, and then you have a triangle formation that itself is a bearish pennant. That's one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of triangle patterns except for wedges. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It has been, you really got to take a look here at the volume, and the volume for the micro NASDAQ shows us this. But if you look at the CFD, which actually the CFD data is, the CFD volume is actually pretty helpful. Notice what's happening here. We've had the spike in volume on January 27th. But ever since then, we've had what happened? We've had prices go down, we've had volume drop, but prices go up. Except we look at today. We made a new high on high volume. That's always a warning sign. Then we look at the S&P 500 CFD contract. The volume has gone down for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, 7 consecutive days of the volume being lower than the prior day. And then you get to today, where just like the NASDAQ, we formed this new all-time high, and we're almost getting double the volume that we had from yesterday. I'm actually not sure if the futures is showing pretty much the same thing. The futures volume is lower for 7 consecutive days in a row. Then you look at today, volume spike at the top of a market, and it looks pretty top heavy. How does that translate to currency markets? Right now as I'm talking, Chairman Powell is at the New York. He's doing some presser, and he's kind of dancing around how to central banks everywhere, folks, they're screwed. The EU, the US, I mean, everybody's central bank has done everything they can to depress their currency as much as they can, and it's just everybody has this game they're playing. Who can make their currency the worthless the fastest? Look at the dollar index, and we're currently below that Kijun-sen we talked about, but very easily we could spike back up above it because we do have the bottom of the cloud here. We looked at this yesterday as a possible bearish continuation setup, but we were looking at higher time frames and how those patterns indicate that may not happen, that we may see things move up here. The dollar Swiss, I took some longs on it today, just a little bit ago. I have 2 contracts currently long at 89.20. Actually, oh, my cursor's right on it, 89.27. And then I added one right at the Kijun at 89.03. And I'm hanging on to it. I have my stop sitting below here because I have a profit target that I'm looking at. A long-term profit target. So my first one that I'm looking at, actually I'll probably do this here. This might help a little bit more if I do it like this. Fib retracement. No, sorry. Fibonacci extension. So my first profit target that I want is where the 886 is at. This is on the daily chart. Is the 886, which is at 89.89, and that's also right around where the top of the cloud is at. So that's at 89.83. So basically what that means is from my original entry for a long position, my first profit target that I want is, I have it splitting the difference, is right around here. And I have my stop below this last low here. The risk reward ratios, I really never really care about those. I just want to know, can I make profit on the trade? Then the second trade I have set up is targeting the 1618. And that is up there. So my first target, I'm looking at roughly an 80 pip profit target. And then the second one is a 211 pip target. The 1618 is also kind of a retest of a level we've been looking at before. If we go to the weekly chart, and I think it's the 3-week chart. Nope, it's not. Never mind. I forgot why we put that green line there. But that's what I'm looking for is a break above. We've already tested the Kijun Sen on the weekly chart. We've established support last week, and if we establish support against the Tenkan Sen this week, I'm anticipating a move up higher where we'll probably get a little bit of chop here against the weekly Kijun Sen, but ideally we'll move higher and tag that 91.15 value area. But also ultimately the top of the cloud is kind of where I think you would see prices going a little bit more. But yeah, the close of this week's going to matter. Is really going to matter the most. Taking a look at some of the other ones. So the pound yen, let's take a look at that guy. So the pound yen is now at, I think it is above, or it's trading where it was back. Yeah, it made a high that is the highest high that it's had since December of 2019. We have on the weekly chart, we have some pretty good moves higher here. $603 pips. So this isn't at the max mean, but this is a mean reversion setup, and I'm totally comfortable taking a short here. I actually did enter short at the market about 10 pips below where it's at right now. I'm doing that because on the weekly chart, look at this. The Tenkan Sen and price, where the close is at, there's a huge gap. And one of the things that is very much like a behavior of the Ichimoku system is that price does not like to stay very far away from the Tenkan Sen. In fact, they like to kind of travel together. Can they trade away from each other? Absolutely. But this is a massive gap between the Tenkan Sen and where price is currently trading. It's a huge gap. There's also a good gap between the Kijun Sen and price. But here's the deal: the max mean for the GBP JPY pair from the Kijun Sen on a weekly chart is around the 1100 pip mark. So it needs to move higher to be at that max mean. However, currently it is a good distance away from that Tenkan Sen where I would expect to see a move south, and not all the way down to the Tenkan Sen, probably to last week's low, to 142.88. So roughly exactly a 200 pip drop. That's what I'm looking at, is to return to last week's low as a profit target on that short. But otherwise, if there's any really clear breakout higher, I'll just take the loss, get out of it, no big deal. But otherwise, on the weekly time frame, it is Wednesday. I like where it's sitting here on a Wednesday. It is getting too extended from the Tenkan Sen. It's not surprised that we're seeing prices kind of have difficulty moving any higher. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking at for these Forex markets moving into tomorrow and Friday. You guys have a great rest of your day. Hope your week has gone well. From all of us at Exchange Rates UK TV, please do not forget to like and subscribe. And I'll talk with you all tomorrow.